you're watching the Top 6 Show, the original multi-club fan channel. Make sure you're following us now on Spotify and Apple Podcast. The link is in the description below. Yes, welcome back to the Top 6 Show. Smash the like and the share button. And of course, remember, we're sponsored today by Tops Now. The semi-final cards are available as we speak. So make sure you scan the QR code above my bonds or click on the link in our description below as well. Brilliant panel for you tonight. I want to welcome back Mo to the show tonight. Carefree Lewis and Have Hope here back in Chelsea. And long time no see, Colleen is here. She's taken a break from arranging Arsenal's parade in North London to
2024.
Postponing like that. Yeah, but welcome back. Everybody good? Everyone well? Everyone in a good mood?
Can't wait for the football. We're all muted. We're all muted or something.
As good as anyone would feel playing Man City next.
It's not me, Lewis. It's not me. It's not me next. It's not me. It's this guy.
No, Mo. You're the last line of defense.
No. It's these guys first. Teddy, tell them it's not me.
They ain't gonna be doing anything.
No. Look. I mean, like I said again. We'll always have the discussion, but the treble is pending, man. The treble is pending,
and we are going to get on. We're definitely going to get on to that. Last night though, Colleen, what we saw from Man City, one of the greatest performances ever in a Champions League game by a Premier League club, or by any league.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it kind of pains me, but
your mic's really playing. Hang on, let me try and sort your mic. Your mic's playing up suddenly. It was fine earlier.
Yeah, I think you may have echo cancellation ticks. See if you have echo cancellation ticks. You may have to untick that.
There we go. Talk again.
Yeah?
That's fine now. Go on.
Perfect. Do you know what? I'm so over football, I'll be honest with you. If you're a Man City fan, could you imagine thinking about this 25 years ago? If you're a Man City fan, this is amazing. Like, what a way... They could never even imagine putting in that kind of home performance and ultimately making Madrid look like they've never been in a Champions League semi-final before. They looked absolutely horrendous. They really embarrassed them. If it wasn't for Courtois, it might have been even worse. And it was lovely to see the crowd actually up for it. I think City have always got that kind of, that bit of banter and things against them around the crowd. But they're now walking into a Champions League final against Inter, who, as much as I want Inter to win, it's looking unlikely. And I think... treble conversations are going to have to be had, and Pep is going to really start pulling away from maybe the Fergies and, maybe potentially your Carlos when we're talking about the greatest ever managers. I think it's going to take some beating.
This is a better... By the way, I was comparing Inter lineup to the Chelsea lineup that started the final against them in 2021. And I see similarities, but I still think that the Inter lineup at the moment is a better lineup than that City lineup, that Chelsea. But this City team, I think, is miles ahead of that City team that played the 2021 final. I think Pep is better. The players are better form. Everything is better for the City team. Like, we would not have seen that City team destroy Real Madrid like this in 21. But we saw it yesterday. It was absolutely ridiculous. Like, I'm watching the game. I was like, how can be that difference in level in terms of like tactically, fitness, and positioning on the pitch, finishing, physicality, everything. And I'm like, how can I beat that team? I think it has to be a master class, though.
No, but see, here's the thing, though. Was anybody surprised? Because if you do the math, you shouldn't be that surprised. A bit surprised, but not that surprised. So check this out. So just last year, let's be real, City should have beaten them. So Real Madrid beat City without Haaland, without Alvarez, without a much improved defense, and without Grealish, who actually made much of an improvement. And City were a few seconds away from beating them. City were always the better team. Real Madrid just had individuals who pretty much just gave their life, to pretty much say what's up. So I think that what you're saying is these guys, they're old. Cruz, Modric, Carvajal, Benzema, they're on the wrong side of 30 right now, and that was their last dance. And when you're saying from the City have made a marked improvement, Real Madrid haven't. So this was always going to happen, because like it's almost sort of happened last year, just that this team has actually improved a lot from what they did last year. So look, I mean, we can talk about oil. We can talk about they're backed by states. We can talk about the fact of like Pep, can he do it with Scunthorpe and everything? But if these guys eventually do this treble, I mean, Fergie's looking tricky, man. Fergie is looking tricky because I think if they do this treble, I think he goes past Fergie. I mean, we'll have that debate when because he's going to do it first. But in terms of just the impact he's done, how much he's changed football, what he's done in terms of coaching. Like, look at a guy like John Stones, and he's playing DM when they have the ball. He now slots back in defense when they don't have the ball. Just the versatility he's brought into the game tactically and so forth. Like, it's on a whole different level. So
I think, look, that the conversations about him surpassing Fergie, and what I really love about that is that, I mean, I've been called a bitter online today, but everyone's talking about if they do the treble, they surpass Man United's treble team and become the number one team in England. But I've sat on debates with some of you in the past who've stated that Man United treble team isn't number one. Now suddenly everybody's put them de facto number one, so this City team can pass them. I saw Babs.
They just want to do treble v treble discussions. That's just it.
Yeah, well, but people aren't saying that. They're saying become the number one team in England, which means they're surpassing the treble team to do it. There are people that don't even think Fergie's the best Premier League manager. Now suddenly he's going to be surpassed by Guardiola to be the number one manager. And I'm all for the conversation, but we need intellectual honesty in the beginning of it. However, taking nothing away from City, what I saw from them last night was nothing but sensational. It was one of the best performances I've seen from an English team in Europe. What I will say is, look, they're not playing a great Real Madrid team. I don't care that they were defending champions. Chelsea were defending champions 2 years ago. They weren't a great Chelsea team. They were a good Chelsea team. This was a very good Real Madrid, but still, to batter them the way they did, embarrass them the way they did, humble them the way they did, deserves absolutely nothing but nothing but praise. And
well, especially after last season, considering the way that they got knocked out by Madrid.
Exactly. And I kind of feel like jumping straight into greatest ever, beat this, beat that. And let's just focus on how good this City team is for a minute. Let's just talk about them, because as soon as you start doing the comparisons, and I'll be guilty of this, especially it's always against my club and against any of yours, it then becomes a tit for tat and people start playing each other down and, well, this weren't as good and that weren't as great. And that's a fair thing to do. As soon as you start bringing it straight into the comparisons, let's just kind of look. I'm not going to celebrate what City did, but I'm going to congratulate them because it was nothing short of exceptional. In terms of stopping this City team, because I've seen this conversation come up on a number of platforms this week. How do Liverpool, how do Arsenal, how do Man United, how do Chelsea stop this Man City dominance? How do they put a cork in it? How do they catch them up? How do they make it more even on the playing field? What do they need to do?
Put Pep on a boat. Put Pep on a boat.
No. Seriously, sorry, to be serious. I mean, like, quick, and continue. I mean, realistically speaking, it may sound defeatist and so forth. You can make an argument that Pep Guardiola and be one of the greatest league managers ever. Because when you just look at his points totals and just what he does in leagues, how many wins he has, I just think his philosophy is perfectly made for leagues. See, in the UCL and knockouts, that's where it gets tricky. But in terms of just, because I always like how you manage in a league and how you manage in the cup, those are two very different ways of coaching and managing. Hence why he's found it tricky for City in the UCL. But in the league, because the issue of why he's so unbeatable is how he's backed. So that squad can keep on getting better and better and better and better. And you already have one of the best goal scorers right now. So even if United and City are going to get these guys, can you do what Liverpool did? So can he get to 90 points? Can he get to 95 points? Because these guys are hitting 95, 96, 97, 95. So the only way you beat them is if they beat themselves. They have like a season in which it's just like an off season. But if they're on it, I just think that Pep Guardiola, in terms of a league and being backed by states with oil, you can't. You know, so you can't.
I think you're just talking without actual facts. No player in this Man City team that started yesterday, and I said this in the reaction yesterday, came from an elite club. Not even one player came from an elite club. An elite club, I mean Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Juventus. Okay. Not even one player. Pep Guardiola is the one who is making these players punch above their weight. Like he's taking a player that is a 7, making him a 9, making him a 10.
Alvarez was a 7. You're saying Julian Alvarez was a
Arsenal
7.
came from the South American League. Come on, from the Argentinian League.
Oh, so because it's from the South American League, he's a 7.
What I mean is,
Come on,
let
bro.
me
Give
tell
me
you
a
the
break.
difference.
Have hope. Do me a favor. Let Mo make his point.
Let me finish.
Rather than
Arsenal this year, until game week 30, they were playing good football, amazing football, getting more points than Man City. And Man City were on course to get 90 plus points. Arsenal, if the owners backed them correctly in the beginning of the season, if they had the right recruitment in January, they would have been able to go all the way, because the reason why Arsenal lost the league is not because they lost to Man City. It's because they didn't have the depth, they didn't have the right players to win against Southampton, West Ham, keep the lead against Liverpool. Look at Kivior coming on. Kivior is not on par with the top defenders in the league. So to win against Man City, talking about the money, everybody spend money in the league. Your club spend money, Arsenal spend money. Italian leagues can talk about it. Barcelona can talk about this. Even Barcelona cannot. But it's all about the coaching style, backing your manager, running the club in the right way. And Arsenal did it. Look at the progress Arsenal did. If they were backed correctly and the owners were not greedy and they spent the money, Arsenal would have been top of the league at the moment.
I don't know if I agree with that.
It's a bit more mentality as well.
Yeah, I don't agree. I don't know what I mean.
At the end of the day, I think on a financial level, I think especially no matter what state Chelsea are in currently, financially, I think, and especially with currently, if you talk about individual quality, I think the ingredients are there to go toe to toe with this kind of Man City side if Pep is still there. Because I personally believe if it wasn't for Pep, if it was Mancini, Pellegrini, I don't think we're seeing the same kind of output that we're seeing from this Man City side. But if we're talking about let's say a 10-year period, because what Liverpool did was great, but it was one league title. That's not breaking a cycle for me. That's not complete competitiveness. Although watching it in real time, it felt like it. But when you look back, not really.
But do you know what I would say about that, though? If Liverpool would have carried on investing in the way they did when they bought Alisson, when they bought Fabinho, when they bought Van Dijk, for 3 years, they have underinvested in that squad. But if they'd have gone out and spent how they should have done, in the same way City have, and I know people say back state funded, only £100 million a year can be pumped in via the owners. All our owners can afford to do that. They all can. There is no excuse. Our billionaire owners can all afford it. It's an absolute nonsense that they can't invest in their money. We are going to move on to the allegations that have been labelled against City. There's a twist in it and a change in it today. Because if we're saying that they are financially doping and they're pumping more money in than they should, then say that directly. If they're not, and you believe they're following the rules, then there's no reason why every other club can't echo them in terms of investment into the football club. Liverpool were better than them for about 18 months. If they carried on investing, they could have maintained that, in my opinion. I agree with Mo. I do think
that's why you need to be perfect.
But
if we're talking about what you have to do to beat City, you got to be perfect. You got to get 95 points.
Lou, but look at it though. Look at it. Teams have become almost perfect, even though Liverpool only won it once.
But that's almost perfect. That's not enough.
Again, I'm trying to make a point though. What happens is when Jose came into the Prem, he changed something in the Prem that no one else had done before him. He started off seasons fast. What did Man United then do? They started off in 06-07. We started the season fast. Ever since 2004, every team that wins the league starts the season fast now. The point I'm making is Pep and Liverpool have taken it to another level again, in the same way Fergie did in the 90s, the same way Jose did in the middle of the noughties. Teams know what they've got to do now to maintain it. But how do you keep maintaining it season in, season out? By spending the right amount of money. I understand there's a mentality element involved as well. And that comes from the management and the team around you. But listen, if you guys would have bought Caicedo in January, as an example, I personally believe you could easily have picked up an extra 4 or 5 points in that running. If you would have had a deeper squad in the summer, I think you would have been in a position where you might have been able to have maintained it. So one thing I don't buy into is that teams can't catch them. I feel like there's this defeatist mentality from fans to go, right, if we say City are impossible to catch, then there's no pressure on us to win the league. And
look, here's the thing. What the Premier League don't want is a full-on gentrification of the EPL, which is what is happening in Germany with Bayern Munich.
It's not happening.
No. But here's my point.
In England, sorry to
I know, but this is why I don't know. This is why, like, look, the issue, why you have when Juve did what they did was because of the state of the Syria. How the Syria was in the 90s compared to how the Serie A was when Juve were dominating post Calciopoli, it was different. When you look at the state of the Bundesliga and the 50++1 rule, it's very difficult for Dortmund, Schalke, and all these guys to compete based on the 50+1 rule. What EPL has in its advantage is the freedom and ability to spend from all of the teams. So I doubt that City will do like a 4, 5, 6 in a row, because you're going to have one of those seasons where a Newcastle, a Chelsea United will just get things right, and they'll sort of put an up, sort of like rupture that flow. So you won't get 6 in a row. But I won't put it past City if, let's say, in a 10-year period, he does like 6 or 7 out of 10. I won't put it past him. So
I hear you on that, and I get where you're coming from in relation to that. But yeah, I just don't like them. I suppose it's me and the way I am as a person. I don't like this mentality of there's nothing I can do to beat them. It wasn't that long ago in the UFC that Israel Adesanya was untouchable. Then he gets knocked out. Now he's fought back and knocked the guy out. It wasn't that long ago that he's New Zealand. There's
half Nigerian. Yeah. Okay, he reps Nigeria. Okay, we claim him.
Usman, another Nigerian. He was unstoppable and then beaten back to back by Leon Edwards. The point is, very rarely in sport is there a team that's unbeatable and they can't be caught. When Barca went for a period, no one's ever going to stop them. Eventually, people started to stop them. You have to adjust and you have to change and you have to adapt. I'm just someone that doesn't like a defeatist mentality at all. Someone says Terry talking Arsenal again. No. Again, I have no idea where that. Honestly, some of you have got problems and need medical attention. If you've heard the word Arsenal and what I've said there, obviously we mentioned Arsenal in terms of what they could have done in January, but yeah, very weird thing to say, my friend.
You have something to. I want to just talk about Pep Guardiola, and I agree on point that I have hope said Pep Guardiola changed the way football is played. He created a system that everybody is trying to emulate, is trying to make it the same system for their club. Is that it's successful again? It's probably 18 or 17 out of the 19 teams you play. And there is only one way to counter this, to create a system that would work, which is what Jurgen Klopp did, and which is what Arteta did this year. They beat teams left and right by creating a system that suffocate other teams and win points no matter what. And this is the way to beat him. Mourinho did it with Pep Guardiola in 2012. And people that watch football in the La Liga, he did. He scored plus 100 goals. He said, to beat Pep, you have to be better than Pep. And he created a system that works. You got to be back to the players, of course. But I'm sorry, Terry said it. All your clubs have a lot of money to back your managers and get the right manager in, the right recruitment. And you can create a system that will be Pep Guardiola.
I get that. Of course, there has been a twist in the cheat allegations today. And a few people said, Terry, why the title? Because it's trending news. And we never ignore trending news. The allegations have come out that City have lodged a legal challenge against the Premier League's 115 charges, disputing the process and objecting the involvement of the QC, who happens to be an Arsenal fan. So they're disputing the process and the QC. No word, as far as I'm aware, on disputing the actual charges, as in, but they want the QC thrown out, and they're basically challenging the process, and the process isn't right. What do we all make of this? Because I bring it up because I've seen a lot of people online in the last 24 hours say City are getting a lot of praise, but it's almost as if people have forgotten, or the media have forgotten, that they are staring down the barrel at potentially 115 breaches, many of which are financial doping allegations that have built the foundation for where they are now. Then you see this news today from the Times. It's come from the same journalist who broke the news originally. What do you all make of this? Is this something for football fans to focus on, or should we be ignoring this and just focusing on the football on the pitch?
I mean, look, I think if we want to be fair, it's innocent until proven guilty. That's how we have to roll. So until they've gone to court, they're in an orange jumpsuit and they're behind bars and so forth, we can't say anything. So all they are these are just charges. Now, obviously, look, as I said again, look, I mean, I don't want Pep to be in trouble because I'm a Mourinho guy. And me being a Mourinho guy, I am bred to hate Pep. So it is what it is. So, of course, I'd want Pep to fall victim of the financial doping. But as football fans, we are football fans. None of us are lawyers. None of us know the intricacies of the law. So until they are fully proven and they're in a court of law, we can't be like, now we can't give them praise. No, so continue to praise them, continue to give them their kudos until they are proven guilty. So at the end of the day, all they are just charges. So we can't live with, basically, like, the whole point of living in like a sophisticated society is innocence until you're proven beyond reasonable doubt that you are guilty. So we've got to treat you as innocent until you're proven guilty. But because even after that City win, literally a lot of guys in my mentions, specifically United fans, are like, financial doping. And I just got loads of guys just listing all of the charges they had literally after they won 4-0. So, and I do believe 100% until they are proven innocent, if they win the treble, that stink will remain on them until they were proven innocent. And I'm like, cool, but 100%, because it's going to be painful for United fans. If City win the treble and Fergie is now put into obscurity because Pep has now surpassed them, United fans will say, nope. These guys, financial doping, backed by state, they are oil merchants. It doesn't count. So it is what it is. But you have to prove. And also, when you look at a lot of these charges, guys are like, oh my gosh, 115 charges. A lot of these charges are like, what? The grass? Some of them are just wild. So yeah, look, come on.
Yeah, so essentially, I just want to read out what it says here. It says the Times has stated that a dispute has arisen in relation to charges in the English top flight rules, with the six-time champions of the belief that they should not apply the investigation to alleged rule breaches before their introduction. So they're essentially saying because there are a number of those breaches that weren't breaches before the FFP rules came in sort of 2014. They're essentially saying things that from sort of 2008, 2009 until that 2014 period shouldn't exist. They should all be thrown out, which I think is fair, because if there was no rules to be broke, then they shouldn't be included. And of course, then they've added by saying they want one of the QCs thrown out, who's one of the head of the panels, because he is an Arsenal fan, and they believe there's going to be some prejudice within that. Of course, a lot of rivals are saying, well, the fact that they're challenging this stuff is like an admission of guilt. Now, how do you feel about it, Dax? Welcome to the show, by the way, as a City fan, seeing this story trend today of all days.
Yeah, it's perfect timing, isn't it? I like that you actually did look a bit further into it, Terry, because a lot of people didn't bother. I read on one of the people that publicised it. It's one of them websites where you have to be a member to actually read the thing, and all the comments on it. I thought, none of you are members, so none of you read nothing. You're just going by the fact. And what the actual headline said was the Arsenal thing, and they're going, oh, that's all there. Look, as Arsenal fans, you all know about a process. We're going through a process. The first process is the simple things. So this is stage one of the process. I do think they've probably not much news today. They've reported it the day after we've won the semi-final of the Champions League. I nearly said won the Champions League there. But no, I think, you know what I have hope spot on, and I'll be consistent with it. When the charges come, and when it's all said and done, if we're guilty, then we'll take the charges, no problem. If that ends up with us being in the third tier of English football, absolutely no problem. We'll do it again. By then, we probably will have completed British football anyway, so then we'll go and start again. But for me, what you just said there, Terry, is spot on. That if the police arrested me for breaking a law that wasn't a law when I broke it, yeah, I wouldn't be happy. And the same way, I think when Have Hope talks on the fact that there's some charges in there that are laughable, I think there's a reason why you do that. Because if the police were to come through my door right now looking for firearms, looking for bodies, looking for whatever, right? And
they'd find them underneath
listen, if you're keeping firearms and bodies underneath your mattress, it's definitely your first rodeo. But no, if they came in looking for whatever and they found a spliff in the ashtray and that is it, right? They wouldn't have to pay for my door to be kicked off. And I'd still be in the papers. It would still say, found guilty. It wouldn't go into detail of what charges. And ultimately, I think that's why they've put them there, because I honestly do believe that we will beat most of the charges. But I think there will be technicalities. It's a bit like with UEFA that we beat UEFA, but we got found guilty of not providing evidence soon enough, right? So everyone will go, well, City were guilty. Well, no, we weren't guilty. We just decided that we didn't want to provide the evidence until it got to court because we wanted to pull their pants down in public. And I think it'll be something similar to that. But it's what it is. Look, I don't think we're any closer. This is like the Glazers, right? That it's just news, isn't it? Until it actually happens, it's just another story, and it's not really telling us much.
Can I ask a genuine question? When did this law come into place? The laws that they breached.
So let me just
Because Dabbs raised a very good point. He said that we might have broke the law after.
No, Terry raised it first, to be fair. Yeah.
Okay, so can we really, because this makes a massive difference. Was this law put in place to stop? Yeah, go ahead.
Implementation of FFP took place at the beginning of the 2011-2012 season. Of course, the way in which City have gone about their business financially started as soon as they arrived. So you're looking at 2.5 seasons where they were operating this way, but they didn't change it. The problem that you've got, though, and again, I'm speaking as a layman here, is that if you're doing it that way before the rule change and then you continue doing it that way, could that not be seen as an admission of guilt? Almost like we want it thrown out after, rather than just well, we didn't do anything wrong, so you might as well have it all in there.
I mean, if a rule changes, then you're guilty, innit? And that's coming as a City fan. That if I'm doing something that's illegal, then the rule changes, but I keep doing it, then I broke the law. Right? You can't go, well, I started before the law changed. But yeah, do you know one thing? Mancini. Apparently, one of the things is that we paid Mancini. We paid Mancini incorrectly with brown envelopes, right? Do you know Mancini's come out and said, no one's come and spoke to me about this yet? So I don't know what investigating they're doing because they're not actually speaking to the people that are involved in it.
The thing is, it's not a criminal case. It's essentially civil. And
but surely you want evidence from the person that apparently got paid that way.
I kind of get that, but it's a little bit like this. I mean, that could. I mean, he doesn't know where he's had the money sent to. Like the thing from Mancini's point of view, he's just received the money, right? It's the same as City. You guys have actually received the money from your sponsors.
Yeah.
The allegations are, though, that the money behind the scenes in Abu Dhabi has been sent into essentially the bank account of the sponsors via your owner when he shouldn't have done it. There's no way of actually proving that, and that's why it's a civil matter. So it's like an employment. It's like employment law. If you take a member of staff to a tribunal to dismiss them, you don't need to prove things beyond reasonable doubt. It isn't a court of criminal law.
That's mad in itself, isn't it?
It's based on probability and likelihood. So
that is mad, though, don't you think? When we're talking about this much levels of money and whatever, that it's ultimately coming down to.
I hear where you're coming from. So from the Premier League's point of view, it's like, look, this company has no turnover, has no staff, doesn't make any products, but they can afford to pay you £20 million a year. There's emails linked to it stating that the owner of your club is going to siphon the money in. For them, that's like, well, we don't need evidence that it happened because this isn't a criminal law. We are going to sanction you on that because it's obvious. And
sounds legit to me, to be honest. Sounds perfectly fine to me.
You know as well as I do. There's a lot of men that we probably grew up around that might not have been strictly legal, but they couldn't prove it. Imagine the law was, we don't need to prove it. We just know you did it. Yeah. That's how civil law can be in these circumstances, potentially. So, and someone here said hacked emails. Yes, again, it's not a criminal law. Yeah. So the fact it's hacked emails, the evidence won't be thrown out like it's a criminal case.
Do you know one thing that I think Man City have been very consistent with, and personally, from things I've heard a lot of things when you that City are building up a case, right? They've built up a big folder, and it's not just, some of it is nothing to do with Manchester City. Some of it is so what's the term? I've used it before, Mo. I never felt it's called it's like balance, basically. That they've got a recording of a game that doesn't involve Manchester City and level up. That's it, level up. Sorry. And all of a sudden, there's the VAR talking with the referee, and then a voice out of absolutely nowhere says level up. And what he's basically saying is, we got a decision wrong earlier. Now it's time to level up and basically give a decision the other way. And what City are doing is, because City have been very consistent from the beginning, is just be consistent. And that's my view on it. My honest view on this is, do I think that Manchester City have probably done some things that maybe are loophole worthy, right? Yes, like Chelsea did. But Todd came out and said, we found loopholes and we're going to use them. Whereas City, I think, would be that little bit clever and go, we're not going to tell you about the loopholes. We're going to do what we're going to do. And then when it gets to court, we'll go, by the way, there's a loophole. By the way, there's a loophole. And I think City just being consistent. There's no football club in this land that's being run completely correct. Just be consistent with it and investigate everyone and investigate everything.
Mate, I totally understand that. And there's a comment here that says, but Terry, hacked emails don't give proper context. That's part. But that's exactly. But again, this is again. I agree with have hope. Innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah.
You know, if City get a treble, I'll say well done. It turns out they've cheated to get there. I'll condemn it. But until that point, I won't. However,
do you agree with technicalities though?
I do, but they need to be explained. I want the explanation for it. But the thing with
but they are crap. I'll be honest with you. I hope we bust case, and if it's on a technicality, technicalities are crap, isn't they? Really,
if it's
truly.
Technicality, people are still going to think that you're, you know what I mean? Are still going to think you're guilty. The thing with the hacked emails is this though: City will ask. This is why the charges have gone the way they've gone. So City were asked to explain them and give context, and City refused to. So again, when you say they shouldn't be using the emails, when someone refuses to explain what that means, you know, of course they're going to go further with it. So again, I'm not blind.
Oh,
okay. I agree with every word Terry's saying.
He didn't give any. I think my screen.
Yeah. You went a bit 800, bro. You went a bit 800,
It froze there. Sorry, this super chat here says we don't have to think that they are automatically villains, but the idea that we can blindly say innocent until proven guilty, like we all don't know that corruption and power dynamics exist, is ridiculous.
In all levels of football, though. That's in all levels of football. I agree with that comment, ultimately, but it's the same thing for every single club that, you know, and I think Arsenal is a very, very, very well-run football club, by the way, but I have no doubt that there's something they're probably doing wrong. Like, it is what it is. This is a world of football. Just be consistent and understand that probably most clubs are doing.
But see, here's my thing, though, because I do feel, I don't know whether they're wrong. I do feel that I may be wrong. I'm just putting this out there. I think that the media and so forth in England don't like Man City, and they don't like the idea. Yeah, and I just don't think they like the idea of Man City breaking the quote-unquote establishments of Liverpool and Man United. Because remember that season where it was Liverpool and City, and Pep even said that, I know you don't want us to win, but I'm sorry. Well, like, I think it was the 98-point season. And I do feel that the powers that be and so forth are like, no, we'd rather it be Liverpool United. And I just think City's existence and also City's owners is something that the so-called establishments just don't like.
It's bigger than
which
football,
is why, like, I'm saying that, is this
football.
part and parcel with the charges and so forth? So I don't know.
Surprise coming from a Chelsea fan. Surprise, where they put the money in before the laws were put in place.
Relax. Just beat Pep on June 10th. Thank you.
No, but I wanted to ask Daps a question. Do you Daps think that the laws, as Terry said, that's why I asked the question, 2011, they were put to prevent the smaller club Man City that have so much power now in terms of money to come into the table of the big clubs? Because that's how I feel it. Because have hope said
you know what?
Prove it. Let me just finish that point. We'll just take 10 seconds.
Okay, go on. Carry on, Mo.
Innocent
carry on.
Innocent until
Trust me, the judge. Let the judge speak. Let the judge speak.
Until proven guilty. But I think even if they are guilty, they had the right to put the money into the club, because that's the only way they could have competed with the likes of Chelsea, Man United, Liverpool, because they were already big before that law came in.
Do you know what, right? So there's someone that spoke on this, and he's a big, I like him as a pundit, hate him as a player, big hypocrite, right? And that is Mr. Neville, because when it first, I knew you'd like this one, Terry. when I think it was the UEFA charge. When the UEFA charge came about, at that point, I think Neville still had a bit of a madness with Man United, probably over the hotel and all of that. And he basically came out at that point and said that this financial fair play rule was brought in at the time to stop clubs, things happening like happened with Leeds, things that happened with Portsmouth. It was brought in so that no club was ever left in debt where a sugar daddy gets bored of playing and goes, do you know what? I'm going to leave you on with massive debt, massive wages, and go. And he said, and what Manchester City is, they're spending their own money. So ultimately, Manchester City will never be left in that situation. That is what financial fair play was supposed to be brought in. But in my opinion, it was, and now he's completely changed. And now, you know, Sky probably told him that he needs to now go against Manchester City. And now he's kind of, although he flip-flops more than Twitter So, but I do think it has been brought in for that reason. I said at the time, the minute we saw, remember the Super League and that picture came out of the Man United owners, the Arsenal owners, and the Liverpool owners in the seediest looking room I've ever seen in my life, right? Smoke everywhere, a bit like when I'm on my vape, and they're having some seedy.
I was about to say,
meeting.
you've been in
I might have been
many
there,
a seedy room. You've been in
I've been many seedy
room.
rooms. I have indeed. But with the minute we saw that picture, we knew what it was. It's bigger than football. I don't want to get deep into that. But
I look at it from this point of view, though. I've got no issue ever with what Man City spend. You'll never find a video of me complaining, moaning, or condemning them for spending their money. Because you're right, FFP was never brought in to stop clubs spending their money. What it was brought in to do was to stop clubs spending above their means. And if it turns out that the Sheikh has been pumping money in so you can afford to buy the players and pay their wages, if he did leave for any reason, if all these sponsors or a lot of these sponsors in the past were not real, there wouldn't be the money to pay for these players and pay their wages, which in turn could leave you with a wage bill that you can't afford.
But here's the thing.
Now, I think you've built yourself to a point now where you don't need that to happen. The problem is,
at the time, maybe we hadn't.
To get to a point where you can afford to do it without the Sheikh, to cheat to get there against the rules, people are going to take issue with. But equally, though, I get where you're coming from. And my view is this. The way your owner's done it, that should never have been against the rules of FFP. It should never have been. For me, if an owner wants to pump money in, as long as they're putting money aside that would secure that club if they were to leave, pass away, anything like that were to happen, I have no issue with it. However, I will say this. Every single club signs up to the rules that are put in front of them, the laws of the game. So and this is what we always do, whether you agree with it or not, you've signed up to say, this is the rules I'm going to abide by and play in. Formula One, I don't watch it, but they have lots of rules of things they can and can't do. Your team suddenly starts cheating because they've got the money to do it. Even if they're cheating in a way that people think should be in the rules, it doesn't matter. So I get what you're saying about Gary Neville.
But do you know what?
There's a difference between thinking that the Sheikh should be able to spend.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. But, Terry, here's, and you're spot on, because the way I always see it is that if someone couldn't invest, then ultimately you've got Arsenal, KFC, you've got Man United, McDonald's, and you've got, I don't know, Liverpool, Burger King or something, and our owners has gone and decided to buy John's Cafe that's on the same street as all of them, right? And at the time, you've got to remember, the Sheikh took the ownership off of, what was his name, Sinatra, who had come in, and he had literally done exactly the wrong thing. Oh, don't worry, my money's going to be released soon. He'd run up a huge wage bill. We didn't own our stadium. And I honestly think he probably owed the Sheikhs money. And they said, you know what, we're just taking the club off you. The minute they did exactly what Man United wanted, they invested in the city, they invested in the infrastructure, they invested and made us stable. Now, I do agree with you with what you're saying, that they signed up to the rules. However, I'm going to be consistent again, just like the football club's being consistent with it. No problem. If this is about people signing up to rules and not breaking them, investigate every single football club, please, not just ours, right? And I think that's what City are saying. And I think they're saying, and I think that's what's going to end up. They're going to probably, none of us will ever see this, but they will probably unleash to the Premier League. Here you go. Here is all the evidence we have on the corruption within the Premier League and within every single football club, because we've done our due diligence. We've hired Mr. Panic, right? So be consistent. Go and investigate.
But there are no evidence against the other clubs, Dad.
No, but why? Because you haven't seen it, bro.
I haven't seen it. Exactly. I haven't seen it.
Mo,
I haven't seen it.
But Mo, you haven't seen the evidence on City. What I'm saying is that we have not paid. And I said this earlier on when people were saying, oh, City's counter argument is basically that, oh, that barrister's an Arsenal fan. Do you really think that one of the best run clubs in world football is going to pay Lord Panic that much money to come in and come up with that counter argument? Come on, man. And I'm saying what I'm saying to you is, behind closed doors, City will be building something up because they keep being consistent with it, saying just investigate everyone. Just treat us the same as everyone else.
I hear you guys on that. I want to get to a few more of these super chats here. First one says, Man United's noodle deal was legit, at least, which is true. We believe it was a legit deal, to be fair. City is a great team, but you media makes it seem the greatest Champions League ever when Eric Ten Hag's Ajax team pumped Madrid 4 at the Bernabeu when they were the previous champions. And look, and I will listen. I also agree with that. I mean, but then the British media has always done that, and it isn't just on City. Our pundits, and not maybe the written press, but the pundits on the television will always, whoever is the team that's like flavour of the month. I'm pretty sure they said, greatest ever comeback and performance when Liverpool beat Barcelona. But if you went back now and watched old footage when all of our teams have done something good in Europe, probably barring Arsenal, no disrespect, Cole, but like you'll find that they'll say things like that. That's just the nature of the beast. There's always going to be that recency bias in what they do. What City have done in the Champions League, it's what yesterday was one of the best performances that I've seen. But of course, there are loads of great performances. What Ten Hag did with Ajax, getting them as far as he did, some of the teams he beat, massive, but they're not an English team. So the English media, and I know a lot of people don't like hearing this, but I've got to say it straight. Why is the English press going to spend time bigging up a team from the Netherlands or from Italy? They're going to talk about them a little bit, but you've got to remember who their audience is. Their audience is not from those nations. Their audience is different. So, most people tuning in to watch the punditry on Man City are Man City fans. Like, it's so that's why they're going to do it that way around. So I think.
And then they hear Steve McManaman and Michael Owen. Brilliant.
yeah. This year, I just can't stand the fact that no matter what City do, they'll be labelled as cheaters. This reminds me of the New England Patriots.
Yeah. I don't know about that, but I agree with you.
The whole thing with the ball and stuff.
If City beat it, if City beat the case, they won't be. As you said, they get out on a technicality, then they forever will be. But equally, look, Man United there's never been an allegation that Fergie and Man United paid refs, but people still say it. So at the end of the day,
of course they paid the refs, man. The heck?
There we go.
Exactly.
Point proven.
There we go. Gav here says top 6 aside from City. They have spent badly and or made bad decisions. For example, Man United, Chelsea, Arsenal, and Liverpool have needed midfielders for years. Gav, this is where you're spot on, mate. We spoke about earlier about catching City daps, and you're right. It's about spending wisely, buying the players you want. And most point is correct. So many of City's players would have been attainable for other teams a year earlier. Man United said no to Haaland 4 years ago.
And Alvarez a year ago, to be fair, as well.
It's crazy. So, yeah, absolutely right.
Blame the owners.
Ray here says, I think City will be caught because players go and replace the City club legends will be hard. As United fans, I know. Look, I think when some of your stars now and Pep leave, there'll be a drop-off.
Oh, yeah.
Especially if he's the greatest of all time. I think that's a fair point there.
Yeah. Do you know, on the players thing, though, I had this conversation yesterday. If people want to talk on City's legends, we're very structured with it, and it's every year a different legend leaves, right? We were having the conversation about Gundogan and Bernardo Silva. I said, absolutely, if we let Gundogan and Bernardo Silva both go this summer, that's a bit of an issue for me. But I haven't seen us do that. We let one person go at a time. Last season, it was Fernandinho. Season before, it was David Silva. Season before that, it was Aguero, etc., etc. It's one season at a time, and I think that's ultimately the difference between City and Liverpool at the moment is that we are planning ahead always.
Mate,
I'd be shocked if that happened.
I agree with you. I always go back to that year, the summer of 2009, when Ronaldo leaves, Tevez leaves, and of course Hargreaves' knees are shot and can't play. We lost 3 of our most important players in one window and replaced them with Owen, Obertan, and Antonio Valencia. When you run a club like that, you got problems. If KDB, Bernardo Silva, and Gundogan leave, and you replace them with McFred, then you're in trouble. Do you know what I'm saying?
Terry, can I ask you a question? Who's the most important person at Manchester City Football Club?
Person?
Just the players, or
it's between two
anyone?
people.
Absolutely anyone. Oh, do you know what? I'm going to put a caveat. Absolutely everyone except for literally the Sheikh. Yeah, because obviously,
so I would say it's split between Pep and your director of football.
Yeah, right, cool. I'd say
I would say everybody else's club is their director of football because the culture of a football club now is more important than the coach because the culture's crap. Strategy gets eaten by culture every day of the week. But your club is a little different because you have the best manager in the world. So and he's been there 7-8 years. So there's more weight on him. But I think those two, it's about 50-50 between those.
Look, because Brighton's a great example of that, isn't it? Brighton is a good example that whenever someone leaves, and it's not just players, it is also managers, it's recruitment, that whoever's doing the hiring at a staff level there, you're just getting it spot on. And it's kind of similar with...
No, because for me, I would argue that if you have to choose, I would say it is Pep. Because Pep's existence forces you to get that quality sporting director and so on and so forth.
Very
because
good point.
Pep out the gates is sextuple with Barcelona, wins trophies. So every place he goes to, it's like, no, this guy, he's so important. It now forces you to now get the right guys around him for him to now recruit the right players.
So. That. Yeah, and ultimately that whole board, we went after that whole board because we wanted Pep. So yeah, that's a good point as well.
I hear you there. Super chat here says Pep had tremendous backing, guys. He was allowed to replace right backs, centre backs, goalkeepers, CMs very easily. Most clubs have a ceiling. Pep had a field day, and again, that's
not recently. That was era one of Pep.
Also, but that's also where I look at it and go, yeah, Pep's had that, but then you praise the club. Sometimes you can't separate manager and club. You look at the club as an overall package, and they've done a good job there. Fuad here says to beat City, Pep and City, Liverpool won 26 from 27 games, one draw in 2019-20. Deep that you cannot race. But City weren't that good that season. That was a season where you guys actually had an off year. To be honest with you, this is what I was going to say. Liverpool didn't need to be that good that season.
No, it wasn't that season though. You have to, if you break it down, right? What that was I believe it was 2019, right? The calendar year 2019, Liverpool were unbelievable, right? Yeah. We won the season 2019-2020, and Liverpool ran us very close, yeah? Then 2019, from August to December, Liverpool were unstoppable. If you remember, as soon as COVID hit, City became unreal and Liverpool dropped off massively. It was that calendar year, that 2019 calendar year, Liverpool were just unplayable.
I totally agree. But
was it the injury?
City had one. Sorry, City had one injury, one centre back out.
Laporte. But they got and Sane for the whole season.
They got 81 points that year. So again, as great as Liverpool were, Liverpool didn't need 95 points. 82 points that year would have been enough. And that isn't to say that it wasn't like a brilliant season last year.
It was, Terry. Stick with that. It was an awful season.
Yeah, I hear you there. So I want to get through some of these. I want to move on to a slightly different debate here. This one says Wenger got 78 points in 98, Ranieri 81 points, Ranieri over Wenger. I mean, but then you could argue teams in the 80s were getting 90 points with
more
no
games
subs.
In the season, though. More games in the season.
Yeah, but no fucking subs.
Hey.
So
I know where we're going with this. This is
why I don't do points totals, because if we're going to do points totals and then be completely fair contextually, the teams in the 70s and 80s are better than all of our teams, because they were getting 80 and 90 odd points and winning multiple trophies.
Terry, stop it! Don't.
Hang on a minute.
Everton, salute to Everton.
Let me finish my point, guys. We've got to stop interrupting so much on people's points here. Answer me this question, have it really quick. I don't want to dwell on it. Getting 90 points and winning 3 trophies in a season with 12 players. Why is that not harder than doing it with 23 and 5 subs available?
Because I need a DeLorean to go back into the past and actually look at exactly how they did it properly with my own 2 eyes. I don't trust Wikipedia. Let me see it with my own 2 eyes for proper context.
So I agree with that, but this is what you've got to do. You've got to talk about only the era you watched. You can't start doing what you did earlier on today and disrespect Pod Paisley or any era you didn't watch. You have to literally ring fence in my lifetime. You can't say all time, because that means you don't rate Pele or Maradona. You didn't watch
Terry, I rep Dixie Dean. All those dudes, Dixie Dean and so forth. I rep all those. 100%. I respect what they did in their points.
You done yourself there, bro. You done yourself. You don't disrespect Pod Paisley. I'm a Man United fan. Don't disrespect what Paisley did, what Shankly did, what Busby did.
Paisley, I respect you, bro.
So again, anyway, we'll move on. The only way to beat City is to play like Spurs.
It's kind of true.
How did they never beat them?
I don't even get it. City's problem is not money. Pep is Pep with money. I hear you on that. Colleen, what happened to your parade? You said.
Yeah, I said in May. I mean, I'll say what year? 2023, 2024.
That is fabulous.
No smoke without fire is what Cliff says here. Thank you, Cliff. Will says we can't compete with City. We can't compete with City, but that's not because their owners are being good. It's because our owners are so bad. People need to stop disrespecting Inter. Judge Mo will love that. They love that. Y'all forgot that City's away form in this year's Champions League is not that great, so we shouldn't write off Inter yet. Just like all the British media doing, Inter can beat them.
Inter not doing nothing.
Listen, it's one game. It's possible, but the way City are playing,
no.
You've got to hedge your bets on City though.
No, Inter.
If you beat them, if you beat them, we can. So yeah.
There we go. Pep only ever managed rich clubs who outspent everyone else in their leagues. See how he does it somewhere like Burnley. Anyone can get success.
That's why Mourinho is better. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you for this dub. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Can I answer this, Terry?
Go on, bro.
Not true. Barcelona were not at that point. Most of the players were from La Masia, and he developed them. And he
Oh
made them
please,
that player.
oh please, no! Don't give me that. He had Messi.
Pep,
No! Don't you dare give that to Pep. He had Messi, Iniesta, and Xavi.
Okay,
he had
so it's about
three
Messi then.
world-class. Xavi and Iniesta. He had 3 all-time players. Stop it. And that same call won 3 international trophies. I'm not giving Pep Barcelona. I'm not. I'm sorry. I'm not.
I am just responding to the rich. They said rich, right? And I said most of his players were homegrown players.
Oh please, homegrown. No.
Do you know the beautiful thing about this comment is that, Terry, please, you won't, but people remember this comment, yeah, because it mentioned Burnley there. So when our next manager gets disrespected, yeah, remember where he started off at Burnley.
What season did Pep start at Barca?
2008,
2009. Oh yeah, 08-09.
That was his first season. Okay, 08, 09.
Yes.
So
And he took the treble that
in his
season,
first season, they spent 96 million, 113 in his second, and 72 in his third. I wouldn't call that. I mean, that was a different era. That's not colossal spending, but there we go.
It's not low though. To be fair, it isn't low in that era.
Oh yeah,
in that era.
Evening, Terry, and everyone. FA Cup had 3 replays, and the FA Cup final had a replay. More games and football pitches were not as good through. And listen, this is what I'd say about the era thing. That's why I don't like comparing the eras. I compare trophies, and that isn't because of City are winning a treble. Anyone who's watched my content for more than 5 minutes knows I've said this for years, and it all comes to fruition now because it's a nonsense. The world was different. You know, goalies didn't wear gloves in those eras, and the balls were heavier. So it's honestly, there's so many different variables that I don't think we should disregard. But there we go. Speaking of differences. Who should be the manager of the year? The nominations have come out, guys, and Pep's on there. You've got, of course, Arteta is on there. Who else is on the list? Eddie Howe's on the list.
Does
Lampard make it?
Is my mate Roy? Is my mate Roy on the list?
Lampard did not make it.
What about Hodgson?
Lampard didn't make it?
Well, no, Lampard's not on there.
Oh man,
Conte's not on there. Who should win it? Because a few weeks ago we had Igao on here, who stated that no matter what Pep does or what Pep wins, it should be Mikel Arteta. What are you saying? I'm going to look carefully, Lewis. You've been quiet for a while. Who do you think should be the manager of the year, bro?
You're either looking between Pep or De Zerbi, realistically. Like, Arteta's done well this season with Arsenal. No one's going to take it away from him because the way things have ended, it's still going to leave a black mark in terms of what Arsenal have achieved and where they should have been by the end of the campaign. De Zerbi, like after Graham Potter left, everyone expected Brighton were going to take a downturn. They've been unbelievable this season. They're probably going to get into the European places. I think that's good enough to be nominated for it. Obviously, Pep Guardiola, because he's going to win the league, he should be up there as well. It'll be between one or the two. I've seen Eddie Howe in the comments as well. That's a great shout as well. Eddie Howe deserves
I think Eddie Howe's a shout.
It'd be one of the 3, but I'd say De Zerbi. I'd go for De Zerbi.
Yeah. I mean, I'm 100% with Lewis. Like, I mean, even if Pep wins the league, like you had a cheat code from Norway, so that's an asterisk.
But then shouldn't he get credit for being able to coach him into that squad? Because at the beginning of the season, everyone was like, not sure how he's going to settle. I don't think he's going to break the records.
No.
You know, he's not doing it by himself. It's a team sport, and he's being coached by Pep.
And I said no. So my thing is, I'm with Lewis, the Zerb. This is management. And the fact of most of these Brighton guys are guys we've never heard of. These are unknown guys we've never heard of. And the level of football that he's playing with these guys and how well they're doing and competing, that is the definition of management, getting unknown guys and getting them to play at a high level. Now, if Arsenal, who were top at 93% of the season, won the league, then Arteta. But Arteta shouldn't even be on this list because you've embarrassed yourself. Because to be on top for so long and to decline so badly during the key part of the season, I just think puts him out of the running. So for me, it is Eddie Howe is a very good shout. He's a very good shout. So, but for me, 100%, like what De Zerbi has done is out in terms of just coaching, management, improving players, tactics, getting guys to play from the back.
You're not being serious.
Terry,
You're not being serious.
Terry, can I ask you a question, Terry, quickly, because it might change the other people's answers as well.
Go on.
With this trophy, is this based solely on the Premier League, or does it take into consideration all competitions?
It's a public vote. So
right, okay, so it's
it's,
public.
so for me, it's going to have to factor in other trophies. It must do. And the reason why I think it does, I hate this notion of ring fencing of what
I agree.
tournaments people have played in, because you don't play each tournament one by one. You don't do the FA Cup in the first 2 months, the league for 6 months, and then the Champions League for 2 or 3 months. They're all played at the same time. So to balance your squad, what Pep has done this season is not being the greatest thing he's done this season is not being discussed. The way he has maintained his fitness levels to be able to play as hard as they did last night on the 18th of May in a season that's unprecedented because of a break for the World Cup. To manage your squad to still be performing at your optimum now at the business end of the season, it's one of the greatest bits of management I've seen in the last 15 to 20 years. It's absolutely exceptional. I know what De Zerbi's done is great, and he deserves huge credit. Arteta's growth of Arsenal this year, he does deserve to be on that list. Have hope, in my opinion. What he's done in the growth of Arsenal this year is exceptional. What Unai Emery has done since taking over from Lampard, who was absolutely horrendous as a manager, has been impeccable.
No. You mean Gerrard?
Taking over from Gerrard, absolutely impeccable. However, Pep has guided his team to a Premier League title. They're going to win it. And they're in a FA Cup and a Champions League final, and on the edge, on the precipice of a treble, the second team in English football history to do it, and the 8th team in European history to do it. That achievement, in my opinion, it is only Pep that can win it this year. There's great shouts elsewhere.
Mo, go on.
A treble.
Yes, so this is why I say that this voting now is actually a little bit early. I think it depends. If Eddie Howe gets top 4 and Pep doesn't win the treble, I think Eddie Howe, to be honest, with this Newcastle team getting the Champions League in his only second year in the job is amazing. Pep Guardiola, if he wins the treble, there is no doubt that he should win it.
Okay.
Just because Pep Guardiola actually got over the talk about he can't play with Haaland, he's not a striker, new way, and he managed to get all of this behind him and play this amazing football. So, but you need to win the treble, or only at least the Champions League. If you win the Champions League and the league, because he's expected to win the league, adding Erling Haaland to the squad, but the Champions League was the final mountain that he needed to climb. De Zerbi at the end plays amazing football and everything, but still he hasn't gotten into Europe yet. So I think this is early. And Terry said it, if he gets the triple, he gets the but he hasn't yet.
See, no, I agree with Mo though. Like, look, if Pep, I think Mo is right. It's too early. I think that let's wait until the very end of the season. If to win a treble, that is the greatest achievement you can have in a season. So if Pep wins the treble, without a doubt, it's not even a discussion. He deserves the award because of how you're able to actually succeed on all 3 fronts. That is literally the nirvana and the precipice of management. But my thing though for De Zerbi, you can't just hold. It's freaking Brighton. So you're saying that because he doesn't get top 4 with the Brighton, you should now hold that against him. The fact that he's able to get these guys to play at such a high level and to even flirt with the top 4, that is incredible management. So for me, like, that is a good shout.
Emery did it as well. So which one? So Emery is doing it the same.
So you're comparing Aston Villa to Brighton?
Not big enough sample size, neither for me, neither.
That's another thing. He hasn't. If De Zerbi get him to Europa League, yes, but to be honest, because Emery has done the same thing. It takes away from the manager.
Sample size is so much smaller, bro. So much.
Oh no! De Zerbi came mid-season, like I think in October as well.
I wanted to interject very slightly. Colin, you said a minute ago to have hope that he's like talking nonsense about it. I assume you're talking about his exclusion of Arteta.
No, I was referring to him having De Zerbi to have it over Pep. To be honest with you.
She doesn't back Arteta, bro.
Arteta should be on the list, but I'm not saying he should win it. But like, I just think it's almost a bit of I think we're almost forgetting and almost romanticizing a little bit because Pep keeps, delivering for Man City, whether it's a league, whether it's the domestic complete haul of things. Whereas
because he's backed by oil, so you expect.
I was liking you today, Have Hope, and you've just gone and ruined.
I'm just saying. I'm just giving the facts. I'm just here to spit the facts.
Listen, I think Terry's spot on when it comes to Pep because it's not only the whole management across every single competition, whether they win the treble or not, because they're in the final of the Champions League. They're probably going to win the Premier League and 50-50 on the FA Cup. He's still got them to
Whoa,
these
whoa, whoa,
finals,
whoa.
and it's
But he has to win it. No,
Wait,
no, Colin.
wait,
No,
wait,
we can't
let
give
me
him credit.
finish.
Did you,
Let
no,
me finish.
did
Let me
you just say
finish.
50-50
Let me
on the
finish.
FA Cup?
Let me finish.
Let's
Let me
finish.
finish.
Then we'll-
Because it hasn't happened yet. But so talking about in this moment in time, this is the state of play. Man City haven't won the
70-30.
treble yet. They've not even won
70-30.
they've not won a trophy yet. Period. But let's use our brains for a second. They're gonna win at least one. There is no way they're not going to win at least one. So take into that context how far he's got them in every single one of those competitions, barring the Carabao Cup. We'll take that to one side. Then talk about bringing in Haaland, because I don't know why everyone's forgetting the conversation at the beginning of the season. People were not talking about Haaland how they're talking about them now. People were not backing him to break the record. They were thinking, oh, it's going to take a few seasons, things like that. Part of that's on Haaland, but part of that is also on Pep and how he's managed the squad. So I think people being very disingenuous because it's Pep, because it's Man City with the money. I just think it's disingenuous.
Colleen,
Pep,
who's
no matter what.
overachieving more, Colleen, then? Who's overachieving more? Is it Pep or is it Eddie Howe? Is it De Zerbi?
But
Who's overachieving more?
So, but the award's not for overachieving; it's for the manager of the year.
Yes.
If
But
it's
then
not,
shouldn't it just go
it's
to league
not.
champion then?
that's
this-
traditionally it used to. Traditionally,
No.
maybe once or
Because
twice.
that's
Then
what
what's the
we
point
do,
of
we
having
do it as
nominees
is,
then?
it goes to champion.
No, wait. If it
I
goes
don't mind, that makes
to the
sense.
league champion, what's the point of even having nominees?
This is what I was
Then
gonna
that's
say.
why you got to look at who's overachieved and who hasn't.
There we go.
I think you can look at who's overachieved. I think there's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Problem is you've
Sorry,
got to vote now. I still think all these awards should be voted for after the season ends. I
Agreed.
think we have to do them
100%.
early.
Yeah.
The reason they should be is I stand by what I've said. I think you look at all competitions and take it all into account because you play at the same time. Eric Ten Hag could come in the top 4 and win 2 trophies this year and hadn't been nominated. Which, if he wins the FA Cup, it's ridiculous that he's not up for one of the. I don't think he should win it over Pep. I would still give it to Pep, even if we beat them in the. As long as they win that Champions League and Premier League, I would still probably go with Pep. But the fact he ain't been nominated and he has the potential of winning 2 trophies, like if we're talking about Pep's potential of a treble, you've got to do the same. But yeah,
Terry,
for me, I just can't look beyond Pep this year. I just can't do it.
The reason why I asked you that question earlier about if it takes in all competitions is because last season in particular, I looked at it and I said, remember, City won the league last season, right? But Liverpool were on to do the quad this time last season, yeah? And when people were saying, oh, Klopp's going to get it, my view was, if this is based on the fact that Pep and Klopp just in the league, it's expected of them, then if you're going to say, you know what, we're not going to give it to Pep because he's expected to win the league, then you shouldn't give it to Klopp either. And then I'm all for, say, like this season, De Zerbi, maybe not Emery, but, some Eddie Howe, sorry. For me, it would be Eddie Howe. If it's not Pep, it would be Eddie Howe for me. But what you just said there, the reason why Klopp got it last year, and now what you said, rightly so, he got it last year, is because he was there or thereabouts in 4 competitions at the time of voting. So based on that, yeah, I'd agree with Pep. Now, I would also throw in there, if we just win the Premier League if it was just based on the Premier League, I'd be more than happy to say, now we expected to win that and give it to Eddie Howe. But if you're taking in the overall achievements, it's a no-brainer, isn't it? Fergie wasn't questioned.
On Klopp, the Premier League website went on the award last year, mentions him winning trophies as well.
There we go.
So it clearly takes into consideration your overall achievements that season, as well as your league form, to be honest with you. And I think it absolutely should. We have some super chats here I want to go to. The first one says, let's have a little look here. I'll try and keep it on these subjects here. It says, first one says, easily couldn't have been a quad if United didn't, could have been a quad if United didn't win. Well, Southampton didn't beat them. Then it would have been, yeah.
Blame Calvin Phillips for that one.
Absolutely. Didn't Pep win a treble at Barca? Who should be the manager of the year for the Liga? I'd say Xavi. I don't watch the league, so I'm not going to give an opinion on it, Debs. I don't watch the league over there at all. This here says, Terry, your 99 United team lost the UEFA Super Cup, the Shield, and got battered in the Club World Cup. No, we won the Club World Cup, my friend. We won the Club World Cup. So I'm already, no disrespect, I'm going to stop reading because you've got that wrong. We won that in 1999. City will win. If City win the 6th couple, it's over. They'll be the number 1 English side. You compare trophies, right? But absolutely. And I've said, if you actually watch my video today where I talk about it, so again, if we're going to start including community shields now as trophies, then Man United are the most successful team in England. So we can all agree on that. However, I said in my video earlier on today, I've got no qualms with City being crowned number one. If the majority of people think it, I'll debate back, but I'll accept it if that's the majority consensus and go, well, I know that's I've got my Premier League GOAT. It's different from who's crowned the GOAT, right? We can have a personal view, but agree with what the consensus is. I'm a grown up. What I will not accept is what Simon Jordan said today, where he said United scraped over the line and scraped the Champions League win. When you look at the caliber of teams we knocked out in 1999, I won't have my club played down because I've not said one negative word about City doing what they're doing, my friend.
That's character as well, bro. Sorry, that would take away a few of our Premier Leagues. That's character. That's how you win trophies.
Exactly.
Simon Jordan wouldn't know about that, to be fair, though, would he?
Exactly. Man United fan here. City, I applaud you on how efficient your club is run and the titles you have been winning. Rather that pain than in admiration I watch. Wishing my owners had half the brains your owners have.
They probably do. That's why they're making so much money.
Yeah, I don't think it's brains. I literally think it's a lack of greed. Igal said Premier League Manager of the Year should only be the Premier League. I disagree. The manager should be who represents the Premier League best equals Pep. Yeah, it should never just be about the Premier League. You're not playing one competition at once, but I agree with you. Terry, can you get the document you created to measure which teams is best and check where City would be? I have to find that PowerPoint doc. Now, we did a show once about 3 years ago where we created like a metrics and like for every achievement. So like how many points the Premier League has won, how many points winning it, like retaining its worth, doing a three-peat's worth, doing a double treble. And we added it all together and Man United came out on top. I think with Liverpool or Chelsea second, Arsenal came in fourth. City, after the last 2 or 3 years, are definitely jumping up that category point. Yeah, so yeah, that'd be worth. We'll look at that again.
Do you know what that would be? Don't you think that would be quite good? Something Premier League should bring in, or Premier League or UEFA should bring in.
They'll never do it. They'll never do it. An
award that is based on, I don't know, not just one season. Because that's my one thing that when you look at what City and United have done it as well. When you look at like kind of your era of probably what was it, 98 to 2001? Well, you could probably go. To be fair, with United, you'd throw in more.
How far can you go back, Daps?
No, but I'm just saying because it is interesting because. To win it, retain it, with also a load of trophies on top of that. For me, that's why Liverpool didn't do everything they did last season because they were going for so many. It's not easy. It's not easy.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I wanted to another point today. Arsenal, they're getting big. 290 grand a week. Saka deal done. Ramsdale's new deal done. 300 grand a week reportedly offered to Declan Rice. Colleen, your club's turning up on the big time now.
Well, as they should be, as they should be. If this season should be a note to KSC, because Arsenal should never have been. If we go back at the beginning of the season, Arsenal shouldn't have even been in this situation to begin with. Where we're now looking at the next season, it's being like, right, we're in the champion. Well, we should have been challenging for the Champions League and getting into it, but in a strong position, in a more attractive one, and ones where we're thinking, okay, we should be challenging for the title, should be going further in, the Champions League and the domestic cups. For me personally, though, I don't want to give too much credit to KSC because it's still too early for me to say, they're doing a great job. This needs to be more consistent. They're on the right track, and then they can't be consistent until there's more years ahead. So only time will tell on that factor, because for me, they've not been the best generally. And, I don't know, they like to be more self-sustaining. And recently, ever since Arteta's come in, they're like, okay, we'll pump a bit of money in. It's just whether that's going to be continued or whether they're going to get to a certain point where we win the league, for example, and then they're like, okay, you got to sell to buy. So on the right track is exactly what we need to be doing. We should be bringing in we should have a world class or top level kind of squad beyond the first 11. It should be like, at least 16. But I'm not going to give KSC too much credit just yet. We have to see.
300 grand a week, Ram, for Saka. Is he worth it?
Well, Terry, I want to be completely honest. Hearing 300k a week, I'm not too familiar with it. My club barely pays 300k a week. Our best player is on half that amount of money. So
whoa. Hold on. What's Salah on?
I'm sure he's on like.
No, I'm talking about Alisson's on like 150k.
Oh, so you rate? Oh, I get what you did there. You're rating Alisson more than Salah.
Remember, there's a big gulf between like Alisson, Van Dijk, and then it's Salah who's on 350.
Oh, cool. Well, I'm going to remove Haaland and De Bruyne from any conversations now. Then,
but it's just like if you're talking about what he's done, I don't think so. I think if he's won a Premier League and won a couple more trophies on his belt, then 100%. But he's still at a young age and he's still sort of finding his feet in football. And given his recent run of form, I think probably in terms of timing as well, this is probably the worst timing to give him the 300k. I think at this moment, he's not worth 300k in my opinion. I know Arsenal fans will disagree with that. I guess if you take into account
it's the wider picture. Exactly. It's the wider
all that
picture.
kind of stuff. Yeah.
He is Arsenal. He is the
That's
Arsenal
that's why Ram Club didn't win the Premier League more than once in the Pep era because of this talk. Because of this talk. That's why Arsenal want to compete. If they keep this energy, they wouldn't be able to keep Saka. Saka would look for other club. If you want to compete, you got to pay up. Don't do this energy.
But the thing is, right, we won trophies at that time. And they deserve the amount of money that they get. Like Mane should have got that money straight away because of what he's done for the club.
Ram, I'm sorry to interject. I know I've asked people not to. I'm sorry I did that. But Saka's got the likes of City and Liverpool circling around him. If they don't do it, he will eventually go. If you actually go back and look at Arsenal from 2004 up until this,
they're forgetting Terry. They're forgetting the heartaches. I've been.
They have literally lost their best players nearly every single time contract renewals have come around, or they've gone to a certain level of stardom. And I know what you're saying. Your players were winning trophies and you've rewarded them. But it isn't just the salaries of those players. It's what you didn't go and do in the transfer market. The loyalty that's been put into certain players who are past their best at your club. That's why you're falling off this year. Your club, the one thing about Pep that I rate is what Fergie had at his pomp.
Yeah.
What Jose had at his pomp. Ruthlessness. I don't care if you've won me trophies before. If you are not good enough to do it now, you're gone.
Yeah, it's a message of Saka, man. The message of letting Saka go is insane.
Exactly,
like,
it's the signal it
the
sends.
Message to future people coming in, to players there, to the fan base. If ultimately it's pretty much if Arsenal let Saka go, it's like Levy getting rid of Mourinho a week before the cup final. It's just basically saying we're not here to compete. That is what it's saying. They have to.
I think it's more what he does after that as well, because especially with Arsenal, what the new deal. I'm not sure if it's 4. I don't know if it's 4 or 5. I honestly don't know. But when you get into these kind of big contract territories,
your mic is a bit,
Can you hear me?
Not that bad. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, it's better now.
You just got excited and it got a bit loud.
No, but
you're
like
talking on Saka.
When you get into these big contract territories, when you look at like the likes of Aubameyang, I'll use that example because it's the same when it's at Arsenal. After signing that kind of contract, nothing, you could say his form went down, wasn't the same. It's how you start reacting post that. So are they going to be worth that contract on the actual football pitch and actually take you to the next level? Or if they're not going to do that, how is Arsenal going to react in this situation after that's the case? Do they get rid? Do they bring in someone else to be like, okay, we gave you this, we trusted you, but you're not delivering? So I think it's like a whole package thing. It shouldn't just be just sign this contract. This is kind of like a singular thing. I think there's too many components to take into it around how Arsenal need to react pre, during, and post this kind of contract, and how Saka will react to it.
It's a promising sign. Saka signing it though.
I don't know why people are assuming that he's gonna fail because he signed the contract. I don't get this.
I don't think there is
Mo Salah. I think.
Even Mo Salah, he's still putting up numbers. Mo Salah, like people are assuming because Saka's young.
Where are you from, Mo?
That much
Where
money.
are you from, Mo?
Egypt.
Oh, right, okay. Carry on.
It's because of Aubameyang. Aubameyang's the prime example.
But hold on. But let me remind you of two names. Can I get 2 names? Gael Clichy and Bakary Sagna. They left because of the money. Didn't they go and win a trophy with Man City? The problem with that is that in this day and age, your best player is the social media. The media are looking at them and say, you are going to be a superstar. And then Man City are looking around you. You're going to be a superstar. So he's looking and say, I deserve that money. I carried this team. If you're not going to give me the money, I'm going to go win a trophy in somewhere else. They have to do it. There is no other way around it. And you cannot read the future. You're not looking into the future, say, is he going to succeed or not? All you can do is pay up and keep your best player and hope that they deliver.
See, that's the thing. It's a case of like where both sides are right. I don't think Saka's worth 300k a week right now based on what he's done for Arsenal, but if you're looking at it for what he's worth to Arsenal, he is worth 300k a week, and they're willing to take the risk and see if he's the guy that can take him that extra step forward. I get there's questions like, can he deliver consistently or in the crunch games? But that's kind of up to him to prove right now. We've seen it happen enough times with Arsenal where they've not given players the right amount of money. See, that super chat right there, Ashley Cole.
Yeah.
Literally, we sniped him because they didn't offer him the right amount of money that he was
It's
offered.
the difference because Ashley Cole at the time was an invincible and won a double the years prior, and he absolutely deserved the money that he got.
Yeah.
It's a tricky one. It's a tricky one.
Of course, there are differences. I understand that, but look, we've seen some examples of Ozil and Aubameyang at Arsenal. Given big deals, hasn't worked. You look at Sancho was signed by Man United on big money, hasn't worked. But you would argue that Arsenal, when they gave out those deals to Aubameyang and Ozil, Man United, when we signed Sancho, gave that big increase to David De Gea. Some of those deals, the Martial one, we weren't being run well. Right now, with the progression over the last couple of seasons, the players have moved out. I know we're bantering Arsenal because they fell away at the end of the season, but they're definitely operating in a better way. So I think you have to look at these things. A lot of people were calling out Mo Salah when he started the season slowly. But the new deals corrupted him. We all knew that was nonsense. It was just rivals are always trying to go, right, it happened with Aubameyang and Ozil. So this, every time someone gets big money now, naturally they're going to become bad players. Look how much money Haaland's on. He's become a better player. If the clubs run well, large salaries won't ruin players. This season, what Man United did, if Ollie was still here, Rashford would have got a new deal in the summer. When he was wanting it. What did the club turn around and say? Get back to your best form, then we'll negotiate a contract. That's what I think Arsenal were doing. It's right. Show us you can go to another level. They obviously know there's interest in him as well. They let him leave. Imagine they go, we're not paying you the money. And he leaves and he joins Man City. Justify that.
Do you know what? The other thing is with Saka, I think if you're an Arsenal fan right now, this should be a positive sign, because I honestly think Saka has been waiting a little bit as well to see how this season played out, and maybe, you know what, when you're a player with ambition, which I think Saka would have, it's not just what you're being offered. I think Bellingham isn't going Real Madrid just because of what they're paying him. I think he wanted to know about the project and he wanted to know what his involvement in the project is. With Saka, for Saka to sign that contract, I think he would have needed some reassurances from people at Arsenal that there's going to be more investment in the summer. So if I'm an Arsenal fan, I think it's the right choice. And I also think it's a positive sign that there will be more big names coming in and more money spent this summer. So sorry, Rams. I think it's just, I think what Cody said was important. Like the most important thing why Saka's getting the money is because of his marketability. Like every single advert I see on TV is more or less in it. Like he's doing Nando's advert for crying out loud. Like he is a big name across the whole of. So is Henderson with Bellingham money. Bro, that was just another level of a different situation, which I don't really want to talk about, bro. It's a bit, you know.
Oh, I thought you were going to carry on talking, Ram. It all just
me too. I was waiting for him.
I threw him off with the Bellingham tour. He clearly brought back. Did Bellingham bring back bad memories or something? No, bro. That poster of Hendo and Bellingham was a bit wild. Too wild, in my opinion.
I've got some super chats to do here. The first one's from my guy, Avs again, Alternative Caves. You said Intercontinental Cup. Yeah. Man United won it 1-0. Roy Keane scored in the final. If my memory serves me right, Ryan Giggs got man of the match. So, yeah. So when he said we got battered, we won the tournament. So, yeah, I don't know. No. There is another super chat. I think you got beat by the Brazilian team. I'm just here to... Yeah, we got beat in one of the rounds, but we won the tournament. Like we won the trophy. So, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. We won the trophy. We won the tournament. So, yeah, I know we got beat in the tournament. I remember that, but we won it. So, like, great.
I thought Bret Hart won the Intercontinental belt. I don't know what's going on.
And Neville here says, it will be funny when Arsenal will sign their third options on the list and their delusional fans will say this was Arteta's plan all along. They will make songs. That made me laugh a little bit. Can I ask this City fan, his name is
City fan, no, it's fine. This City fan, no problem.
He's going to ask you a serious question. He says, what club did you support before Man City? Be really honest. There is no shame in admitting the truth.
So up until September 2022, I supported. Who would I support? I guess Chelsea. That's what they want to hear.
Luton.
Let's
Is
go.
that a serious? Is that actually? Do you know what? Real talk. Until the age of 3, yeah, my real dad is a Watford fan. My real dad. But then my mum remarried when I was 3, and I moved to Manchester when I was 3 years old. Lived there till 16. But please stop asking, especially when you start off. It's a serious question.
In fairness with Daps is legit a City fan. I know there's a few people we have on the show who I don't believe, like Hamza. I will
leave Hamza alone, man.
Do you know why I don't believe it? Do you hear he said last night, Daps? I need to give you his rationale. He's last night on the show. Someone super chatted why he was a City fan. He said because when he grew up, he hated Man United, and he had the choice between Arsenal and City, and he chose City over Arsenal because he believed in 1998 that Arsenal didn't have any heritage compared to City.
Do you know the worst thing for me is when people say to me stuff like they go, oh, you've been a City fan since Paul Dickoff. And I'm like, from your even mentioning Paul Dickoff, like, you think that's the first thing I remember? No problem, you're an idiot. Like,
Daps, do you know what's my favourite one? They always ask this question. Before you moved to the Etihad Stadium, or the City of Manchester Stadium as it was before, what was the stadium called? That's always the go-to one.
I've got a lot of pictures outside that as well. I was a season ticket holder at Main Road as a little kid.
But it makes it so much better for you, Daps, because you've been there when you guys were in League 1, 2, God knows where.
No, I had a moment today thinking about my dad, because my dad got to witness the first Premier League. That's all we witnessed together before he passed away. And a little moment today thinking, like, yeah, if my mum didn't remarry, the honest answer is I probably would support Watford. But my mum remarried when she was.
Yeah, you're free. It is what it is. Do you know what it comes down to though? I notice a difference between you, Big Steve, Jan, than people that I think picked Man City about 5 to 10 years ago. You can tell a fundamental difference. Same with Chelsea. And some Chelsea fans are born when they were successful. You can tell a Chelsea fan who knew them when they were shit. Same as with Man United fans. Some of the older heads I used to sit with in the Stretford End have been fans since the 50s and 60s. They've seen great times and bad times. Their view of the way they talk about the club is different from people that were born when we'd already won the treble. You know,
do you know what it is, Steve? Sorry, do you know what it is, Terry? I always say this, that for me personally, obviously, I love the success, but when you say a club's your family, that is how it feels. Like, it does feel like a family. Like, if we stop winning, we're still going to have probably as good away days, yeah? Just because we're still with all our friends that we go to the game with. So
yeah, I mean,
it just does make it a lot better, to be fair.
Jeffrey, you're a match-going fan yourself. Like, there is an element of being a match-going fan that is about more than just winning football matches and how football looks. It's the day out, the culture, the friends.
Yeah, that's why I'm still going. Like, I'm not going for the football, that's for sure. I'm going for the League Cup. I'm going up to Man City to see a title parade.
I need to speak to you about that.
Flawless, Saeed, make a weekend of it. Daps, I'll probably see you at the game.
I'm staying up there Sunday night.
The title and all of that. And yeah,
you're not celebrating, but let me be clear on this quickly, by the way. Chelsea fans, you are not celebrating this weekend, right? No. It's a party, but you're the feast, okay? Like, you're not celebrating.
You're the lunch.
We've started feasting.
Matisse and his bigger fish to fry. You lot are the fish this weekend. You're getting fried.
Chelsea think they're going to the party. Yes, you are, to be grilled on the barbecue. You're going to get eaten.
Cannibals, we'll eat ourselves. That's fine.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. But it's funny as well. Did you guys see what my guy? Listen, I've got a lot of time for Aaron. Did you see what he tweeted today? That he wants tribalism out of football, basically. Do any of you agree that tribalism? It should be like you should get rid of tribalism.
No. I want all of your teams to lose every day of the week. If you could all be relegated, I'd love that.
This whole top 6 wouldn't exist anymore. The football terrace would cease to exist.
Football media wouldn't exist if it wasn't for that. It's the whole point of it. Just cussing each other out, having things over each other, rivalries. This is a big part of football. Like, no, tribalism is what's brought football to where it is, if we're being honest about it.
Do you know what? Tribalism is what I've spoken on this quite a lot, Terry, and I guess I'm a bit balanced with it. That I've been asked recently on shows, would I rather City win the Champions League or Man United get relegated, right? And I can say, as a kid, the most I celebrate was Blackburn Rovers winning the Premier League. Yeah, honestly, the most I celebrated at Main Road was that. So when we were in the absolute mud, thank God for tribalism. Yeah, because that is what we'll celebrate any Man United loss. But when you get to your pinnacle, it's then like, I don't want to be compared to anyone else no more. I just want to celebrate and live the best we can. But getting rid of tribalism is just mad.
Sunday.
I think
That's
people
mad.
understand tribalism wrong. I think people think that tribalism is just you celebrating in someone else's face. And I say, I don't support any team in the Premier League, but I don't want to see anybody more
You do, you
successful than
support
my
Tottenham.
club. I don't want Man City to do a treble because my club did a treble. I don't want to see Man City dominate the league because I want to just enjoy the league. So for me, it's like, yes, you have to actually not wish success for any other club, but also celebrate with your own fan first before rubbing it on other people's faces.
I think so. Sorry, I think I think some Man United fans are saying some weird stuff about City online, like playing it down. It's not really a good achievement if they win the treble. So I get if he's saying like throw that type of tribalism out the window. I get. However, the only reason some Man United fans are doing that is because at the same time City are achieving, our achievements and legacies are being degraded as well, and it becomes tit for tat. So it's either everybody stops that or it stays. But for me, tribalism, if Man United become the best team in the world again, I still will laugh when my rivals fail because it's there. I think there's got to be a balance on those things here. Mo is a secret United fan. No, he treble was in Inter did a treble. You might not know that, but there we go. 300k for a guy who's consistently hides in games is mad, is what Don says.
Move on.
Don. Yeah, Don.
That's your guy.
There we go. Look, the Newcastle Brighton's game started, so I'm going to go off and watch that. I want to thank my panel for coming on tonight. We're back tomorrow. Big Steve is on with me tomorrow, which I'm not looking forward to, but not because it's him, but because of I'm going to get a lot of shit, I reckon, on that show.
Do me a favor.
Yeah.
At some point, drop into him. Mention Roy Hodgson, and also mention Mark Robbins. Just do it for me, please, Mark Robbins.
What, Mark Robbins, the Man United player that say Fergie?
The manager of Coventry.
Probably is the same guy.
I think it is. But just the same guy, please mention it to him and watch his face. Just mention it to him. Please.
All right, I'll mention that tomorrow. I don't know what that means. Listen, everyone who's tuned in, thank you. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. Remember to download Top Now right now, and we'll see you.